Welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast, the place where we talk about getting businesses seen, remembered and chosen. I'm Joanne Pearce, a visibility specialist and friendly northerner, wife, mum and someone who's built 2 businesses from the ground up on nothing more than a wing and a prayer and sheer determination. I help independent businesses from around the world get found using honest, down-to-earth marketing grounded in real-life business experience. I believe that every business owner has a story to tell, and that story deserves to be at the very heart of their marketing. This podcast is for businesses of all kinds, whether you sell products or services, work locally or globally, are big or small, and you want to be found without relying solely on social media. Expect real stories, honest conversations, a good dose of northern humour, and simple visibility advice that will actually move the needle for your business. Let's go. One of the things that I hear all the time is this: I just don't know what to post, or I've got nothing interesting to say. And every single time that I hear it, I think to myself, that's bullshit. You have got loads to say. You just don't realise it. I mean, life itself is interesting. I bet things happen to you on a daily basis that are entertaining, happy, sad, weird, because it can't not if you live on this planet. So much stuff will pop up day to day in your normal life that is interesting and that is going to carry some kind of value with it to your audience, yet you're not sharing it because you think it's got nothing to do with your business. But that's where you're wrong. Because if it's got something to do with you, no matter what it is, it's got everything to do with your business. Because guess what? You are your business. You are your whole brand. And if you've got nothing to say, well, then you've got to get out more, I'm afraid. Because if you're boring, your brand is too. A lot of people think that they have to do more all the time, and in order to be more interesting, more entertaining, more appealing to their followers. But it's not true. Getting seen isn't about being more interesting. It's about actually noticing that you already are. You're walking around with content every single day. You're just dismissing it because it doesn't look like what you think content should look like. I'll give you an example, okay? First of all, let me say that both me and my sister have this innate ability to relate any story or thing that's happened to us to our businesses. Yeah, her husband said it was a real skill. Whatever the story, we can relate the moral of it back to our businesses. So let me show you what I mean by using an example of something that happened to me recently. A little anecdote, you know me, I've got endless collections of these. Things happen to me all the bloody time. That's why I've got a podcast. I need somewhere to share them. So I was in Tesco a couple of weeks ago, picking up a few things, nice and early after school drop off, which is my favourite time to go because literally there's like nobody in and I don't have to stop and talk to anyone, which is great. Except it didn't go that way this time. Yeah. And as I was perusing the fruit aisle, this elderly gentleman came up next to me and struck up a conversation, mainly about how I should save my club card vouchers up until Christmas to help with the Christmas food shop, which I didn't really have the heart to tell him that we blow ours every 3 months on a big fat feast in Frankie and Benny's. Anyway, I gave him time to talk. I indulged him. He was obviously lonely. And it's the kind of thing that my mum always did, She used to say to me, "Oh, you'll be lonely one day, Joanne, and you'll want someone to talk to you. Always be kind." So I kind of always carry that with me. Yeah, I hear a voice in the back of my head just telling me just to stop and chat whenever an old person accosts me, give them 5 minutes of your day. Except it's never 5 minutes, is it? That's the problem. But as I was talking to this gentleman, I noticed that he had a wedding ring on his finger. And I presumed from the kind of things that he was saying that his wife had passed away. And I was right, which he told me a few minutes later. I mean, I'm a sucker for elderly widows. Like, I just want to adopt them. So he got to telling me that his wife had died quite young, like most of her family, whereas his family, he said they were all long lived because he was 89, fit as a fiddle. But his wife, apparently, she had bad genes. I thought, don't talk to me about bad genes, mate. Jesus, you should come for tea at our house. We're all part of the shit genes club there. We should all wear like a badge or something, a bit of like solidarity. Anyway, I said to him, oh, I said, yeah, I said, I understand the genes thing. I said, our family, unfortunately, have all been quite short lived, but, I'm hoping to change this. I was trying to be optimistic and lift the mood a little bit. And do you know what he said back to me in response to my lovely, positive, and hopeful statement about being the one to change our family's shitty gene trail for future generations to come? He said, you won't. Just like that. Really matter of fact. Very unapologetic. Typical hard old bugger, as my dad would say. You won't. Thanks. And then I swiftly ended my conversation with him and I got back to getting a basket full of fruit and veg in an attempt to extend the longevity of the Linda Pierce family line. It's probably hopeless. But we got to try, haven't we? Now, most people would walk away from this conversation and forget about it. Not me, oh no. I knew there was a business lesson in here somewhere. And of course, I found one. That moment wasn't just about an overly opinionated 89-year-old man in Tesco. It was about assumptions, limitations, other people projecting onto you. How many times do we hear things like that? Not always quite as brazen as him, to be fair, but in little comments or opinions, even in our own heads. And then we quietly just believe them. Oh, you won't make any money doing that. You won't be able to stand out in this day and age. You won't grow doing that. We limit ourselves based on the things that we've absorbed, not actual facts. See, I told you I could relate anything back to business. But this is exactly what I mean when I say that your life is your content. Like that 5-minute conversation in Tesco has been translated into part of a podcast episode for me. You don't need to keep coming up with content. You just need to notice what's already happening around you. And these moments that you choose to share, they stick with people because they're real. People connect with stories and you're living your content every single day. And I think that we just filter it out because it doesn't feel businessy enough. But this is why some people grow without even trying. Like we all know one or two of them, don't we? So annoying. But they're sharing their personality naturally and they're being seen. And more importantly, they're being remembered. We're there thinking, what the hell does a conversation with a random man in Tesco have to do with my business at all? On the surface, not much. But when you look at it a bit deeper, beyond the surface level, stuff like the topic of conversation or just the fact that it was a typical Tuesday morning that was as uneventful as always, that's when you start to think about how that situation made you feel and then the comparisons that you can make between those feelings and how you feel day to day in your business. Because that's where the gold is. That's what forms the basis of your real content. Use your everyday occurrences and turn them into content for your business. So, what lesson did you learn? Mine was to not stop and talk to opinionated old men in Tesco at 9 a.m. Won't be doing that again. What comparisons can you make between what happened in your day-to-day life to what happens in your business? I think you really have to remember here that people don't connect with perfect. They connect with moments. They remember stories. It's like whose accounts on Instagram do you remember the most and interact with the most? Mine are those knackered, pissed off mothers who have also given up on trying to create happy memories with days out and activities that no one else ever wants to do. So they lock themselves in the loft with a bottle of gin and they draft out a plan to commit a crime, right? Nothing too serious, just something enough to bag a few days in a jail cell, get some uninterrupted sleep and someone cooking for them, a hot meal every night. Doesn't sound too bad, that, does it? These are the people I connect with, and their stories are the reason why I remember them. So here's what I'm challenging you to do this week. And this is especially for those people listening who are guilty of saying that they've never got anything interesting to talk about. For the next few days, I want you to really notice the little things that are going on in your life. Like the conversations, the funny moments, the things that make you think, oh, that was weird, whatever it is. And particularly, right, I do this, listen in to other people's conversations when you're in a supermarket queue, or you're having a coffee, or you're at the school gates. Honestly, it's where I get most of my social media and podcast content from. I really do. And then I want you to write them down as they happen, right? Not when the end of the day, when a million other things have happened and you've forgotten exactly what it is that made you laugh or made you cry or made you smile. Okay, there and then. So I know that you're probably not all as sad as me and carry a notebook and pen around with you, but stick them in your phone, like open up the notes app or send yourself a WhatsApp message, record what happened on a voice note, and you've got yourself a ready-made content bank. Everything you need is in there. And it's not just that. This is the kind of stuff that really shows people who you are. That person who's running that business that they always see pop up, but they never really get past the pretty product pictures or the tidy office shots. No, get the real shit on there. Don't overthink it. Tell us what happened and how it relates to your business, your brand, your beliefs. Because you are most definitely not boring. You're just filtering yourself and your experiences too much. Let me tell you now quickly what's in my notes app, right now on my phone. Okay, this will show you how random it is. Right, I'm going to give you an exclusive peek here into my content bank right now. So it might give you a clue to some of the podcast episodes that will be coming up in the near future. I guarantee you that all of these day-to-day encounters and anecdotes will get linked back to my business in some way. Yeah. And they will be a really lucrative source of content for me over the next few weeks. So here we go. I'm reading them as I've typed them in, okay? School caretaker. Turned out to be a priest. That's going to be a good one. Romance novels I wrote when I was 13 in the loft. Might regret that one. Dave constantly reversing his letters and being annoying. For example, nicking chuggets and Tice knits. I'll leave you to figure those out. Dead ex-boyfriends. Oh yeah, I've got a right interesting bank of content stored up. And you will too if you start to pay attention to the little day-to-day encounters that make you laugh, smile, cry. Because if they make you feel this way, I bet they will make others feel that way too. So don't dismiss anything. So that's your challenge this week. And let me know how you get on. Maybe you'll find it easier than you think and you'll start actually enjoying creating content again. Because, that's how it should be. You're building your brand. You're not supposed to be directly selling. Storytelling is my superpower. So if you get stuck and you need some help, turning your everyday encounters into helping you get seen, maybe it's a story that the press would snap your hand off to, give me a shout. I've been helping lots of clients recently with getting their brand sorted, showing who they are, what makes them different. And I've created some really cool about pages for their websites and their online platforms as well, their social media content and press releases to bag them some free publicity. So if it's something that you need help with, let me know. We can chat and I can suggest what you need to do to get your business seen. No pressure from me. I'm here if you want me. Just don't be nervous or hesitant to get in touch, okay? I don't charge for emails. I am not a solicitor. And I do offer a free 30-minute call, so you can tell me your struggles and I can give you some advice there and then. Thanks so much for listening. I really hope that today's episode has given you a bit of a boost and made you realise that actually this is about you. Your business is you, and everything that you create should be about you. Okay, it's not being egotistical or self-indulgent. You are showing people who you are and what you do. And there's only one way to do that, and that's to get yourself out there. If you know someone else who may enjoy this episode, please do pass it along. I am nearly up to 10,000 downloads of the Her Handmade Hustle podcast. I am absolutely over the moon with that. We've been going 3 years nearly, so it's a massive achievement for me. And that's because you guys listen. So thank you so much. Have a good rest of the week, whatever you're up to. And I'll see you next time on the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. If today's episode has made you realise that visibility might be about more than just posting and hoping for the best, you are not alone. This is exactly the kind of thing I help independent businesses with, getting clearer on their story, their services, and how they actually show up online, especially on Google. If you want support that's honest, simple, and rooted in real-life business experience, I'm here. Visit my website, herhandmadehustle.co.uk, to see how we could work together. And if this episode helped you, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And don't forget to share it with someone else today who you think would enjoy it too. Thank you, and see you next time.